Welcome everybody out there to episode 196, Divorce Devil podcast with Rachel and David. It's a snow day here in Colorado. It sucks.
Day number 3 snow day for me
It's a
is
horrible day here.
wonderful.
Yes.
I'm in
3
my
days of
PJs
no school.
still, and I
And
have brushed my teeth, so that's good.
that's always good. We always depend on good oral health.
Yes, so I knew you'd like that.
Today's subject is near and dear to our heart: when the exes interfere. How can we start this podcast?
The scenario that my scenario is just when we think things are calm and life is just happening. We know we've both been divorced.
Yeah.
We know we've had all this stuff. And then this revelation comes apart and you're like, shady fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so then you as the partner, and it may not even be your ex, it might be your partner's ex or whatever. It really is eye-opening that a lot of people
Welcome to the Divorce Devil podcast, a show tailor-made for those stepping out of the divorce recovery space. Follow your hosts, David and Rachel, as they dive into the all-too-familiar shitstorm of the more than interesting end-of-the-road divorce topics, stories, and discussions. While realizing it can be a trying stage, they have been where you are and understand the struggle. And yes, the struggle is real. They know that recovery can be such a clusterfuck. Check out the podcast if you feel like you're juggling chainsaws, then strap in and hold on for some honesty, authenticity, and hard-in-your-face irrefutable truths. This innovative podcast is not for the faint-hearted, so if you can't handle the certain truths, just keep it moving. If you can, welcome to the show.
that have caused an issue are still causing issues, and it's being allowed because a lot of people are just like, I'd rather keep the peace. But what peace are you keeping? You're not keeping your peace because you're just holding it all in and you're expected. That's how they are. Are you going to change them? Especially if they're older. You can't really change an older person, but you can give them perspective of, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm done playing your crazy game. Especially because I know the game you're playing now. So now you started the war. But don't be surprised when I'm going to defend myself, right? So
But there is no war. There is no defense.
There shouldn't be, right?
Yeah, so from my standpoint, let that shit go, because the more you let it affect you, the more they do it.
But David, it's easy to say that. But when you're in the midst of the turmoil,
when you're in the midst of the storm, you want to lash out. Wah, wah.
And not even lash out. A long time in my marriage, I thought I was the problem because I was told all the time that I'm crazy. But when you're dealing with crazy that doesn't want to, they're in denial of their actual psychosis or their personality traits or
what you do, you remove yourself from the crazy.
The problem, in my marriage, I lived next door to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law always thought I was crazy. My ex would stick up for his mother because it was easier to keep the peace with her than to side with me.
So what was the ultimate
I got
result?
divorced.
There you go. You remove yourself from the crazy.
But it took me actually physically moving 2,600 miles away to realize that I wasn't the problem. And I added to the chaos because I never spoke up, because keeping the peace and walking on eggshells when you're dealing with someone who absolutely has a psychosis, a mental disorder, you can't win. At some point,
and when you try to win, you go crazy.
Yeah, it's not about winning either. It's about, I can no longer stomach this. I literally actually have stomach issues. I have headaches all the time. My headaches went away like within a month of me moving. So physically drained.
So baby steps.
Yeah. And not everybody is capable of moving. Not everybody is able to move to a different state or even a different street. But I think what comes to is a lot of people don't know how to set boundaries. And the beginning of this podcast, like, I didn't know how to set boundaries, and I thought I was setting boundaries, but I was actually putting up walls. I wasn't talking through what my issue was, because generally the issue wasn't I needed to put up a wall. It was I need to set boundaries with other people.
But can't you put up a boundary without having to talk?
Yeah, no, I don't think you have to go, I'm putting up a boundary against you. I think you
Just
can take
like
yourself out of the situation.
step away from the situation and never return to that situation again.
Okay.
Never
You do
ever
that. You do that.
return to that situation again. That's a boundary because you are preventing yourself from being put in that situation again.
And my thing was too, like, we had moved away, and within a month of us moving there, my mom got really sick and my mom passed away. Sorry. My mother-in-law was en route before she knew my mom was like sick. Like, I got a call, it's be here. I went there with my older son and my mom passed away. My mother-in-law, we probably crossed in the air and she didn't know what was happening when I was leaving. And so when I got back, my mom had passed away. And one of the first things she said to me is, now I guess you just have me as a mom.
Mm.
I'm grieving my mother, who I didn't have a great relationship with, and you're telling me that and reminding me that I only have her, who hates me. Sorry. And I had to learn that her hate wasn't part of who I am.
But that hate fueled you to heal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it was, if I wouldn't allow my mom to talk to me like that, I absolutely can't allow this woman to talk to me like that. And so my mom passed away in like the beginning of August. My mother-in-law went home, and then she was back again for Thanksgiving. Like, we literally fucking left for the reason that you were always next door. And Thanksgiving was the first time I talked back. The first time I heard my own voice coming out of my body, because it was always muffled. It was always quieted. And when I heard my voice for the first time, I'm like, I really like her. Like, I really like the person.
Almost like a third person.
Yeah. And I said, where has this strong person been my whole life? It was me. I just needed to wake up. I just needed to be in a different perspective, in a different light. Like we were talking today, that if you are given a subject, based on your mood, how you're presented the subject, you're going to react. And so conversations in the last week where this topic has come up, where I was talking to someone, mutually have interest in the person that was causing the drama. And my younger self was saying to this younger adult, going, yeah, but how much of this are you going to hold on to? How much of this is yours to ingest, swallow, and shit out? Because anything that you harbor is going to stay on your soul, and it's not your shit to carry. You have your own shit. You inhale and ingest all day. You literally are making decisions all day on how you're going to react with humans, especially if you work in a school like I do, or if you work in an office building, if you work in a dentist's office. You are dealing with different personalities all day. Now, this one personality happens to be a person in your life that you want in your life, but you are learning that having this person in your life is killing you. It's killing the essence of you. And I think until we either have been killed, not physically, but until our soul is, I have no more breath to give. I have no more comments to give. There's no more tears in this. There's no more of me and this person interacting, because I can't take it anymore. They're literally sucking the life out of me. And we both know situations where we want to say, that's it. We want to say, we're done. But the only way to do that is, like you said, tiny steps, and then close the door. And if you reopen the door, that's on you, because you're allowing it to happen. And you are the only person in your life that is going to take care of you. Nobody else. Not your partner, not your children, not maybe your doctor is helping you take care of you. But only you get to make the decisions 100% of the time in your life. And 100% of the time, I would like to think that anything I say to someone is going to be kind. I know it's not going to be true, because someone's going to piss me off. And then depending on how I've reacted before to this person, it's probably going to trigger me. But I'm hoping to learn that's not my shit. I don't have to engage in your bullshit. I don't have to engage in your games, because the end game is I win because I take care of me. And in me taking care of myself, I know that you don't affect me.
What can you tell people out there that are going through this shit? They're going through a crazy ex, a crazy friend, a crazy something. How can they
Parent,
start to
sibling,
separate themselves?
coworker.
Yep.
Just because it's divorce devil doesn't mean that relationships in general aren't
All that shit
part of
is
this.
connected.
Because you meet somebody, you have a relationship, you date, you do the things, you get married, you have this life together, you either stay together, you get divorced, and then you're getting older and you're learning. And each time that you've made a mistake or done something, you've either learned from it or you can hold on to it and you can make it last. We said this before too. Is it a 5-minute problem that you drug out the whole day? Or was an all-day problem that it took all day to solve the problem? And you get to decide. If someone says something rude to me and I don't say, excuse me, I think that came out different. You might want to reword that. Or am I understanding you correctly? Because if you don't talk it out, it's on you didn't take the steps to protect yourself or to assume that the person was being negative, yet they just had someone tell them they were shitty or someone do this. And it's all cyclical. It all works together. And the only person I'm in charge of 100% is of me. And if I've
So
done
where do
something,
we go? Where do we go with the point of realistic expectations?
the only thing I learned yesterday when I was talking to this person and trying to help them navigate dealing with a disgruntled family member was, how much of this are you going to carry? How much of your shit are you going to load in your backpack and carry with you? Now, we don't have a backpack. We have a soul, we have a heart, we have a brain, we have all these things that are absorbing it. Our cells are literally absorbing your energy. And I really can't hold anybody else's energy. Like, I don't have any more space because I'm filling it with things that make me happy. That my life in raising children was to create kind humans and to create children that other people will say, I love your children. I love this. All that time, what about me? I wasn't raising myself to be the perfect person for my children when they became adults. And I've done that now. Crazily, I think you literally have to shut doors. You have to shut all the doors. You have to turn out the noise. You have to sit in your space.
Slam them doors.
You have to, your favorite analogy is parking spaces. Like, my parking spaces are worth infinity bazillion dollars, right? Because each one of those affects me solely. It affects me. My parking spaces may help your parking spaces, because if I help you get through something that you're dealing with, then I fulfilled, something that could help you. But in just my parking space alone does not fulfill you. My parking space alone isn't the same as your parking space. It could be on the same level. It can be on the same, it could be valet. It could be whatever. But I think what happens is we forget about ourselves, and we are first in our life and we're last in our life. We are the last person that hears and sees and thinks when we die, and we're the first when we're born. Like, we forget to take care of us. And I think a lot of people are people pleasers because, again, they want to get rid of the noise. I think you need to shut off the noise. And especially if you're early in your divorce, don't take advice from anybody.
Yep.
Because I honestly believe your soul knows what you need. I honestly believe the energy in your body that was created knows what you need. And we were talking also, as a woman, especially with stuff that just happened recently, as a woman, I have been taught my entire life to be on guard. I have been and taught my entire life to watch my surroundings. I have always been told that someone may not like that I'm a woman walking around in a tight skirt, or my blouse is too tight, or my hair is too nice, or my jeans are too tight, or whatever. And someone may take advantage of me, or someone might do something to hurt me. The people I need to worry about are the ones in my actual life. The people that I need to worry about are the ones that are surrounded by me willfully or unwillfully, or they're put in a situation because they connect to someone else that I connect to. And those people have hurt me way more than strangers. A lot of times strangers become friends and they become my family. And because families feel like they can hurt you because they're related and you're supposed to take it, or they think they can say stuff to you because then it's an excuse. If you're mad, it's because of you and not because of them. And so I think we need to get rid of that stigma that just because someone's your family doesn't mean that they can love you the way you need to be loved or know how to love you.
I got a mind fart. God dang it.
Okay, so I have another one. Dealing with parents and kids and siblings and stuff like my mom and my sister were best friends. I didn't have that relationship with my mom. My sister and I now don't have a great relationship. I'm like, hereditarily, what did I do wrong that my mom didn't love me as much as she loved my sister? I spoke up. I talked back. And a lot of times when you're dealing with mental health, my mom definitely was bipolar, undiagnosed. As a nurse, all the signs are there. Everything that, that I know as someone in the medical field, absolutely, if she was medicated, it would have helped her. But she was dealing with her own shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as a parent, you trickle your shit onto someone else. And if you don't break those curses or you don't cut ties with that toxic parent, all the time, you're the one being affected. That person gave you life. That person has fed you and clothed you and put a roof over your head when you were younger.
But
And
they don't
now,
get the right to disrespect you and treat you like shit.
exactly. And now as an adult, when you have your own set of ideals and you have I am not going to raise my kids like that because I may have had a narcissistic mother. I may have had a mother with an addiction. I had a mother that was undiagnosed mental illness, a lot of trauma in her life, all these things that my mother had. And if someone would have just listened to her, if she would have just said, I will no longer tolerate your shit. Like my grandmother was a horrible human and literally treated her children like shit. And so my mom only knew that. And
So it's almost like a generational.
The way my mom tried to express her love is not how I heard love, right? So she taught me how to sew and make pies and blueberry hunt and use the earth as our healers and all these things. And I didn't hear her because my love language, which we've talked about before, was way different than I'm going to show you that I love you, but I'm never going to tell you. And I need someone to say, I love you. I love this about you. I love that you do this. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for helping me. Words of affirmation are a big deal for me. And so physical touch, it was the only person I was getting a hug from was my dad or my sister. And so physical touch from my mother was weird. So like, I'm really like, when women are like, hey, give me a hug or something, I'm like, okay. But if Lance gave me a hug, I'm like, oh, that means he loves me. So I had to learn that what was good for me wasn't good for my mom, but I should have trusted her more. And I because she wasn't really there for me because she didn't know how to do it. And I hope that I'm breaking those curses. I probably haven't broke all of them because definitely haven't broken all of them. But I see that we as a society have definitely been divided because you're right or you're wrong. And that's not how it works. You don't always have to be right. And I don't always have to take that you think you're right because I also have an opinion. And going back to that toxic mother or toxic father, like a toxic dad that shows the daughter who not to date, but every guy that she dates just likes that toxic dad. Your dad's not in your life. You don't know how to be a father because you didn't have the example. You either break the curse, or you repeat it. And that's what we know is insanity. And insanity, I think, really goes generationally.
So what about listeners out there and viewers, because it'll be on YouTube, about those listeners and viewers that have a toxic ex and the toxic ex gets in their brain? What things can they do to get those boundaries? What are some of the simple steps they can do to get boundaries?
What do you do if a child's misbehaving?
You want them to spank their ex? I'd love to spank my ex.
If that's what you're...
No, a spanking. Not a spanking, but a spanking.
I like to call it a fuck around and find out, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Until you've had enough, you're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Until
you get that breaking point.
Will no longer tolerate disrespect, you're not going to do anything. So like, why are we pretending, right? But the moment you have that literally proverbial aha, you don't get to talk to me like that anymore. That's how it needs to be. Like, you need to be stern. You need to be like, and it's not really your job to make someone else act correctly or in your space be respectful, because now you're just shooting yourself in the foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's your job to protect you. And how you protect you may be different from you and I. I'm okay. I have this thing called ADHD. Object permanence is a thing for me. Once I don't see something, it no longer exists until I'm like, oh, you sent me that text 3 months ago. I should probably respond. I saw it. I didn't pay attention to it because I was not in my space. But as soon as you aren't in my space long enough, I forget
Mm-hmm.
you're there. And there may be times when a Facebook memory comes up and is a picture of me and my sister. And I'm like, I do miss my sister, but the sister I had before all the shit. And so it makes me remember that she exists. I know that she's there. I know that she exists. And I know that she's doing her thing. But I don't miss her because I forget that she's there.
It's
Because
almost like a realistic thoughts after the fact that you're like, hey, I
yeah,
missed that. It's like,
and
wait a minute.
I honestly
She is a bitch.
think it's a defense mechanism that I've learned that if I don't engage and if I don't talk and I don't do all these things, you can't hurt me. And so is that good or bad? It works for me. It may not be good for everybody.
Yep.
If you haven't seen your ex in a month and you don't realize they exist and you have to hand your kid over, you'd be like, oh, that's right. I have one of those. So again, is it right? I don't know. It could be, it could not be. I don't want to say you have to do objects permanence. I think that what works for you. You've been in a situation where you had an ex-girlfriend, you had an ex-boss, you had an ex-someone, and you're at the downtown bar. You can either throw a drink at them or you can walk away. Or you can be cordial and be like, hey, how you doing? Cool, great. Nice seeing you. I got to go. This isn't my scene. But what I could really say is listen to yourself. Know what you'll deal with. Like we tolerate less from strangers than we do family because they're family. That doesn't define your disrespect. It's equal.
And they should know better. It doesn't even factor.
Yeah. A stranger can flip me off because I wasn't going fast enough. A stranger can do something and I'll flip them off back. Would I flip off my mother-in-law? Probably not. But now I would. Because we allow strangers to treat us bad and get mad about it, but we allow our family to do it, and we're like, it's fine, that's just who they are.
Yeah.
Why is that? And I'm all for communicating the shit at everything. And if you have someone you can't talk to, or if you have someone that doesn't listen or doesn't think they're the problem, or they're a narcissist and it's all about them and they don't really care about anybody anyway, and you're just talking to a wall, what's the difference if you cut them out or not? They don't listen to you. They're not hearing you. They're not loving you.
We got the title, Family Boundaries.
Yeah.
Bam.
And I think we both, you and I both, David and Rachel both, have learned over the time that we're gonna be people pleasers. We're gonna be helpful. We're gonna try to do what we can. And we're in the medical fields and we might know connections because of doing that. If a family member is sick and they won't take your advice and they're now talking to your ex and getting information from you and doing all the bullshit, that's on them, not on you. And you, David and Rachel, have to say, that's enough. You're on your own. Good luck. I hope you miss me, but I'm done. You don't get access to me anymore. And it really fucking hurts. It really does. And we can joke and play around and say it doesn't hurt, but it hurts that the people that said and should love us the most are the shittiest to us.
But it only hurts for a little while, and it doesn't continue to hurt because you process it.
You put a Band-Aid on it. The Band-Aid starts to heal. It gets a little gooey once in a while. You change the Band-Aid. You put some ointment on it. You put a new Band-Aid on it. And then eventually you let the air on it. And then you get a scab. And eventually that heals scabs. It is really like a toxic family member. The wound is basically the healing process. The physical healing process of putting the Band-Aid on, ripping the Band-Aid off, let it get some air. Once you've breathed through it for enough times, the scab goes away and you just have a scar. And the scar is you healing. The scar is you saying, I've had enough. So the next time someone goes, oh yeah, I got this one in Nam and I got this one back in 92, and I just show your scar. Let your scar be your strength and let that scar be I had enough. You should see the other guy.
Any parting words? Most important thing about this?
My parting word is David, I just want you to know what an amazing human you are and everything that you do for everybody in your life. And
Me?
again, I think we need to do this more, especially in the times where our country was so divided, and a time when people don't tell the people in their lives that they appreciate them, and then they're not going to a funeral, or someone's sick and you can't do your podcast for 2 weeks because someone who's a soul sucker takes you off your game, and all the things. So just know that everything that you've done for the people in your life, we see you and we love you and I appreciate you, and thank you for always telling everybody.
Well, I appreciate you for your short podcast and your few words of wisdom. Yeah, you're so lucky to have you on the podcast, and I probably wouldn't have 196 podcasts. 196, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have 196 at this point. And who knows when 200 is coming. We just got 4 more. So hopefully by the end of the year.
Damn snow keeping us away, and family members and bullshit. And take care of you, David, because you're valued by so many people, even though the ones that should love you the most don't see your awesomeness. And people out there, if you're listening, you are worth the boundaries. You are worth the healing. You are worth happiness.
No matter how people treat you like shit, doesn't matter.
And it's okay to say, no, that's a complete sentence. No excuse, no reason. We have plans and you just don't feel like going because you've got disgruntled family members, and you say, I can't go. No, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm going to be like, you know what? Take care of your mental health. Take care of you. Go to bed. Put your pajamas on. Watch a movie. Do something. You don't have to explain why you want to say no, because there's a lot of times we do a lot of things because we think we're obligated to, but if the shoe is on the other foot for people, they don't consider us the way we consider them. So just know that you're loved, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate our listeners.
My parting words. You ready for my parting words?
Yeah.
Fuck them motherfuckers.
Let them and let them go. Let them and let them go. If you haven't read the Let Them poem, read the Let Them poem by Mel Robbins.
And the one I learned this week. Yeah. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Especially when you're blindsided, man.
What? All right, everybody, have a nice night.
Not for your own bullshit. Do better. Love yourself. And you're the one that
Rachel says every podcast, people
do better for you. Like, not even for the people around you. You can't think of that airplane, like we always say. They always say, put your oxygen on first. And if you don't got your oxygen ready and you're not prepared, go get you some oxygen. Put it on
sometimes you put your oxygen on and forget the others. Oops, I forgot to put your oxygen on. I'm sorry. And
we can play the game of, I have the oxygen. I just don't know how it works or how that do that. And again, no, there's no right or wrong. You just have to, and it's so crazy because we know this, the second you set your first real big girl, real big boy
boundary. Oh my God.
It's just stroll, and you're like,
break off that boundary. Break off a piece of boundary and then keep going from there.
Be the left or right Twix, whichever one you want, but make sure you break yourself a piece of that Kit Kat bar or whatever it is. Twix, Reese's. Yeah, can you tell that there's still a Halloween bucket in my house?
Yeah. Probably. All right, everybody, listen to Rachel.
You have an ex for a reason. You have an ex for a reason.
Break those boundaries, everybody. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.